Shalom. So today we're going to talk about the feeling of anger and how to deal with it, right? So in order for us to understand the anger, we have to question it. We have to try to move into a relationship with this feeling because we spend most of our times running away from it, right? So this time, let us do the opposite. Let us try to understand it. Now, the goal of this video is really to work through the feeling of anger, right? So a lot of people, when they feel this type of emotions, what they do is they want to read all the scriptures pertaining to anger, but that just calm them for a moment, but then it never really fixed the problem because the anger is still there. So we're going to go more into meditation on the scriptures, right? Integrating the scriptures into the experience of our anger, right? Now, also, what we need to know about anger is in the Hebrew culture, when you make reference to the feeling of anger, you reference the nose or heat, right? So you'll find scriptures talking about smoke coming out of the nostrils. This is our way of saying a person is angry. It's just like when you look at that raging bull and the face is made up, you see the nose like it's, swollen and steam coming out of it. That is how we speak about anger in our culture, in our Hebrew culture, right? So it's the same word for nose or hot. And as you know, when you're experiencing that feeling of anger, you feel that fire sensation burning inside, right? So when it talks about slow to anger, it is slow to heat up, slow to be hot. You're hot in your anger. You have to be slow to generate that heat that makes you angry, that brings you to that boiling point, right? Now, let us get into the anger itself. What are some of the questions that we have to ask? When you're feeling whatever you're feeling, you have to ask yourself, what is it that I'm feeling? What is this feeling? So what you're doing now is you're identifying it. So you're going to give it a name. And this feeling is anger. Now, anger can come from two places, right? It can come from your higher self and from your lower self, right? And when we make reference to the lower and the higher, we talk about the spirit and the body-mind complex, right? So you have an anger that comes from the ego, which the scripture refers to as the carnal mind or the flesh. And you have an anger that comes from the spirit, right? Now let us just go to the book of John chapter 3 and verse 3. The book of John chapter 3 and verse 6, it says, that which is born of the flesh is flesh, and that which is born of the ruach is ruach. So whatever comes from the flesh is of the flesh, right? Whatever comes from the spirit is of the spirit. So there's a discernment there. So what we're actually dealing with is the anger. So once you discern that, okay, this anger is coming from my lower nature, right? Now we need to understand the cause of it. We have to find out the cause of it because you have certain things that can fuel or give rise to the feeling of anger. Like, for example, our mental attachments, our fear, our desire, and our hurt, right? There are other examples, but we're just working with these mental attachments for now. Let's look at an example with fear. Once you have attached yourself to something or someone or situation, what actually happens is that you become fearful of its security. So, for example, you have an attachment to your child. Your child is supposed to be home from school at 3. It's now 6 p.m. and you don't see your child. You start to worry. You start to be afraid of something, that something might have happened to him, or he's in trouble with the police or something, right? So that is natural. Now, how does this fear turn into anger? When after a few hours, your son suddenly shows up. Now you realize that nothing is actually wrong with him. So that fear goes away, but you develop this anger. Now you want to make something happen to him. You want to do the damage yourself. So you see, the anger is there, but that's just at the surface. But what is beneath the anger, the wood that is fueling the fire, is fear in this case. It's the same in an intimate relationship, right? Your partner is supposed to be home from work at say 6 p.m. 11:30, he's just coming into the house. At first you were worried that something might have happened to him, right? But now that you see that he's safe, guess what? That fear goes away. Now you want to fight. Now you want to punch him. Why is he late? How is he just coming home at this time? You were not working extra hours up until such and such, right? So these fears can turn into anger, and we don't pay attention to what is beneath the surface. We're just dealing with what we're seeing at the top, which is the anger, right? The next thing is desire. A lot of our anger comes from desire, because desire, when it is unfulfilled, it goes into the feeling of anger. For example, you have something that you like. For example, you bought a Black Forest cake, right? That's my favorite. You bought a Black Forest cake. You put it on the fridge to say, okay, you're gonna do this and this, and then take a shower, then come back and enjoy your Black Forest cake. Now, after you do your chores and take a shower, guess what? The cake is gone. The other people in the house ate it or something. Now, this turns into anger because the desire is unfulfilled. Another way this happens is that a lot of times in relationship, we do not communicate what we want. We overlook what we want in relationship, trying to please others. So we pretend as if we don't have needs, but we do have relationship needs, whether we communicate them or not. So the other person can be unintentionally hurting us or doing things that is causing us to get angry, but we never communicated to them. So they really don't know, right? So once this desire is not being met, we are going to be angry. And this is why sometimes we're so aggressive in relationships, because the person is not doing what we expect them to do. Not that we communicated it to them, but we expect them to be psychic. That's what happens when you don't communicate your feelings and your needs in relationship. You expect the other person to read your mind and know. And this creates conflicts in relationships, right? So desire can be beneath the surface. This desire can be there subconsciously fueling our anger, right? Hurt. This is another thing that triggers, that fuels our anger. Some people have been hurt from family members or past relationships or whatever the case may be, or even things from childhood days, right? You might have grown up in a family where your family is always making you feel small. You understand? They always kind of like belittling you, and that hurt is stored up there for so long. And now you get into a relationship, when someone is trying to correct you about something, guess what? You still feel that same feeling of inadequacy. But the real problem is not because of what your partner is saying to you, because he or she really wants the best of you. But it's triggering something from a place of hurt, where your family used to make you feel that way. And because we spend so much time avoiding the hurt, we blame everything. We cannot even accept constructive criticism. Everything feels like an attack, even when someone is looking out for our best interest, right? So these are a few examples of what is fueling our anger. One of the main things we do with these emotions is that we judge them. The mind create categories and place them in, and that makes it even worse, because now you're saying angry, I shouldn't be feeling this way, this is bad. So this is what happens when you judge your emotion as good or bad, when you should stand neutral with the emotion and not judging it, say this is bad. So now you're moving into what? Disappointment or embarrassment, because you feel ashamed that you got angry about something that you probably shouldn't have been angry about. You just be neutral with it. It is just anger. That is what it is. It's normal to every human being. There's nothing negative or positive about the feeling of anger. It is what you do with your anger. So you don't judge the emotion, but you embrace the neutrality of it. Don't lay blame. Do not be saying because the stories is more problematic than what you're actually experiencing. So do not lay blame, because once you keep laying blame, what it does is fuel that avoidance. Blaming others is a form of avoiding dealing with what is causing you to be angry. So as long as you're blaming others and they're not changing, guess what? It is justified that you can be angry. As long as they keep doing what they're doing, it's okay for you to be angry. But that removes their power. It takes maturity to not blame others or other events or so forth for how you're actually feeling inside. And that makes it even easier for you to deal with your real internal issues, your real internal problems. Acknowledge that there is something greater than what they are doing. What you can fix in the situation, you cannot fix what they are doing or not doing, but you can fix what is being triggered inside of you. So instead of saying, I am angry because he did this, I'm angry because she did that, I am angry because that happened over there, I am angry because that situation took place, I am angry because the rain is falling. If we drop the stories at the end and just stay with the fact that we know that we are angry, we know that we are feeling the feeling of anger, that is enough in itself. The fact that you can identify that you are experiencing the feeling of anger, that is enough to fix the situation. So now that you know there's a feeling of anger, what you're going to do now is to describe that feeling. Remember, it's like moving into a relationship with your anger, just like moving into a relationship with a person, right? If your friend is asking you about that new guy or new girl, right? You're going to say to them, okay, that's the name. You identify the name, right? A location, okay, he or she lives on such and such address. And now you're going to describe the person. You're going to say, okay, he's tall, she's slim, she has this here, that color eye, so forth, whatever. You're describing every detail. Now it's the same thing with your anger. How much can you describe it? Describe exactly what you're feeling and where these different things are taking place. Sometimes you get angry, what happens? You clench your fist. You probably bite onto your teeth, right? You know, like the scripture says about the gnashing of teeth. Probably you're doing that when you get angry. Probably your heart is pounding. In the mind, it feels very uncomfortable. It's very painful to bear. So you describe every detail. So you're no longer a stranger to it. You're now embracing this feeling. You no longer see it as a negative emotion. Now, the next thing you want to do when you're working through this anger is identify what triggers this feeling of anger. So what you're going to do is make a list of all the people that triggers this feeling of anger. Your boss at work, your work colleagues, your parents, your siblings, your children, the cashier at the store, the bank teller at this bank, wherever it is. You make a list of all those people triggers triggers your feeling of anger. Now that you have a list of people, right? Now that you have your list of people, the next thing is you're going to make a list of situations or events that triggers your feeling of anger. Stuck in traffic for too long. You're in the line and it's moving very slow, whether at the bank or whatever it is. These people showing up late for such and such events. Whatever it is, whatever situation that triggers that feeling of anger, or you did not get this promotion and you were most deserving of it. I make a list of all those situations and you write them down. Now you're going to make a list of the things, of objects that make you angry. How does your car make you angry? The engine is not turning over. You can't get it started. This beautiful dress that you love so much, now that you're out there wearing it, something's wrong with the string and you just can't get anything to make it look proper on you. But it's making you mad because every time you have to be doing this. Make a list. Now what you're going to do with that list, with all the people on it, all the events on it, all the things, all the objects, right? Look at how many times they occur on the list. So for example, if you have 5 people here, 5 situations here, and 5 things here, guess what? Maybe each person appear only one time. For example, your mother, one situation, your sister, one situation, the cashier, one. It's just one each time. Situations is the same. It might be work over here. It might be about something else over here. It's 5 different situations. So everything happens one time. But you know what occurs 15 times in all of this? You. The common denominator among the 5 people, among the 5 situations, and among the 5 things is you. So when you analyze that, would you really want to believe that there's something really wrong with these 15 people, situations, and things, and nothing is wrong with the common denominator? So this is where we have to look internally. This is where we have to analyze. What does the anger tell you? What is this anger communicating to me? It is telling us that we have more of an internal problem than the external. The things that our parents, our children, our siblings do over here that triggers or cause us to be angry. I bet if it was a total stranger doing the same thing, we perhaps overlook it as if it's nothing. We wouldn't take it personal. You know what? You know why? We have an attachment to these people. So it is not the people really themselves, the cause is how we are attached to those people. The situations that make us angry, It's not the situation really. It is our attachment to the situation. For example, you did not get that job promotion. You know you deserve it. You did not get it. Now you're angry. Okay, what if you were not attached to the idea of getting that job position? You wouldn't be angry. So if you remove the attachment, you would be neutral with getting the position or not getting the position. And it's the same for a thing. If you remove your attachment from these things would not bother you so much. And when you're dealing with this, it can deal with actually a relationship as well, a feeling. Why does your spouse trigger your feeling of anger so much? Is because you have a stronger attachment and then you have a greater expectation of this person. So you're saying that, okay, you talk to them, you tell them what is what, and now you expect them to do better. And because you expect them to do better, when they're not doing better, now you're doing what? Your response is anger. But what if you should drop your expectation? Because you're saying that, okay, this person is 35 years old, so he or she should behave like a 35-year-old person. So what you're doing is you're judging the body, the biological years of the body with their emotional intelligence. You can be 35 years old, but your emotional intelligence is of a 2 years old. So you have to judge by this. You know this person is not emotionally mature. So why would you expect better from them? You have to expect what a 2 years old child would do. And then you'll be neutral, so you can say, okay, that is expected. Allow them to surprise you. Let them come and do what a 35-year-old person would do. Let them surprise you. And you shouldn't even be surprised because you're so neutral with it. So for us to resolve a lot of these problems that are not really so much of a problem as we perceive them, if we change our expectations of people, situations, and things in our lives, guess what? We will fix half of our problems. If we drop certain expectations and our attachments to these people, situation, and things, we will resolve our own internal issues. Now, how is my anger expressed? This is very important. How do you express your anger? Make a list of things you do when you're angry. Now, some things can be good, some things, like some people in the moment, you might go to the gym to work it off. You burn some energy, right? That's good in the moment. Or say a farmer would take his machete, go and cut down a few trees in the field. In the moment, that's good. But it doesn't end there, because you still have to go back later on and meditate and process what you did not get to process. Otherwise, your mind will form its own conclusion of the matter. And guess what? You do not know what the mind has concluded. You know when you're going to know? When it is being triggered again and you react to something in a way that you shouldn't have. So your child probably come and say, "Good morning, daddy," or "Good morning, mommy." And you're like, no, you're ashamed of speaking to your child like that. Or a stranger is just asking you what is the time. And the way you are having an emotional outburst. You know why? This is what happens when you repress your anger. You implode. You cannot keep pretending as if it is not there. And a lot of people, they like to suppress their anger. And when you suppress your anger, it breaks you down into depression. Now, there are more subtle ways that people deal with their anger, not just working out in a gym or they'll clean the entire house, laundry all day, whatever it is, right? You have subtle ways where You can block somebody, you can delete a number, you can read a magazine, you can watch TV. These are ways people use to soothe or pacify their anger. It's just more subtle, not acting out of aggression, punching the walls and so forth. But these are distractions too. Now, the question is, how does your anger relate to other people? You keep them at bay. You keep them at a distance. This is a form of avoidance. You're avoiding close relationships. No one can get that close to you. And most of the times, these are people who are really hurt. You can't do anything to them that would be, say, pleasing. Then, for example, I was in a taxi and it stopped to pick up a woman, and I was stepping outside to put her in. It's natural to be protective, right? She didn't want that. You cannot do that, because anything that signifies that form of closeness, they'll reject it. You keep people away. They cannot do anything for you. They cannot do any favors for you. If a woman is gonna step over a certain thing and you're trying to hold her hand to help her, no, 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 I got this. These type of people always create a certain types of relationships or get into certain types of relationships. Emotionally unavailable people. So either be with somebody who has somebody already, or somebody who just will never show up for them no matter what, or somebody who is usually unfaithful. And if they're talking to a person and they're not really seeing that unfaithfulness in the person, they themselves will manifest it to prove their beliefs to be true. So it pushes you, your anger pushes you into isolation rather than in solitude. So I hope with this questioning of your emotion and understand it, you can work through and you'll grow from your pain, your underlying pain. And no more you'll have to react. But now you can respond. You can communicate. You communicate your feelings to people. Communicate exactly what you want. You have to be clear, because anger in itself gives birth to delusion. Have you ever seen some people, they're so angry starting with this topic, but the anger keeps going down these different roads that you don't even remember where you started from. Anger leads to delusion. It confuses your memory. The scripture says an evil suspicion has overthrown their judgment. Delusion. So you have to work your way so you can get clarity on what you're going through, and you'll be able to make proper decisions. Just try to be clear with what you're communicating. Get yourself calm first before you do anything else. You don't have to do it in the moment when you're feeling that form of agitation. And through constant repetition, you will get rid of your old ways of dealing with your anger or reacting to external events. And now you can respond. Shalom.